everyone. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Palantir trading under the ticker symbol PLTR on a Nasdaq. Over the past few days, it seems like Palantir has been going through a pretty shy recovery, I would say. Now, whether we can call this a recovery or a pullback from the sell-off is going to be debated, right? Because we don't know whether the sell-off has ended just yet. The overall environment certainly doesn't warrant any sort of overwhelming optimism, that's to put it lightly. And also, at the same time, I feel like for stocks like Palantir, it's going to be a pretty painful grind if the bears want to take over. Because Palantir has been a company showing some signs of resilience over time, meaning even though like the stock hasn't been able to get back to its former glories, it's not a company that has nothing, that is just an empty shell, right? They actually have clients, they have positive gross profit, they have positive cash flow. So this is why even for people who don't really like this company, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to keep sending it lower. And my feeling is that Palantir is very sensitive to the overall investment environment, and that if the company is in a good investment environment, we wouldn't be here asking ourselves those questions. It is because the times are tough and that people are looking for yield, and yield can be easily obtained, especially when people are kind of trained like Pavlovian dogs to go above, like to chase anything that's above 4 to 5%, then yeah, it's going to be a no-brainer to just take your money out from the equities and go back to the bonds and go back to the guaranteed options, right? Because nowadays the guaranteed deposit options can give you 4 to 5% of yield. So in this case, why would people stay with growth stocks that keep telling you year after year that you're going to see lots of dividends 5 years from now, right? I'm not saying that Palantir is one of those companies. They haven't said 5 years from now, but they have said some time ago that they're going to remain maybe not profitable for another few years. And my prediction for Palantir is that overall, this company will probably hover in the $5 to $6 over the next year or so. And then eventually some sort of catalyst. This catalyst is probably going to be the end of the recession or the end of the bear market, but also any sort of fundamental accelerator or catalyst. Like if the company manages to crack into the healthcare sector in Europe, what's not to like? You know, what tells us that this is not going to be another one of their major growth vectors? So this is why I would say that Palantir is a company that deserves our attention. It doesn't mean that it deserves our money just yet. I would probably wait for at least a couple of months before I decide whether now is a bottom and whether now is an entry point. The entry point should be, I would say that the entry should be spread over a couple of months, because if I believe that a $5 or $6 is a general support region, you know, how long is it going to take before it reaches back to like 10 to 20? This might be a lot faster, because once the momentum is there, like speed is just a matter of seconds, right? So this is why I think that right now we are in an environment where Palantir is like, it still has to prove to us that it's going to be resilient enough to survive the recession without too many scars. Because if we look at companies like Hyliion, you know, it's not doing anything wrong, but it's just like the only thing that it is at fault is to let the share price dwindle like this. But of course, like, I mean, each company their own, right? But this is the sort of behavior that we need to watch out for. And my assumption is that, yes, the grind is going to continue, but the lowest point should be between 5 to 6. Below that, below 5, we really need some kind of heavy news for the stock to dwindle below that. Okay, so for now, I don't think that it's going to happen. Now, my personal approach for Palantir is to consider it as like an investment and not necessarily as a trading company. So this is why I would recommend to come in between 3 to 5% of your capital over the next 6 months, and to try to look for like low entry points, and I'll go from there. And I would recommend to hold it maybe for a couple of years, up to 5 years. I would say that 5 years is a good idea, and then to see whether this company will give you an interesting return or not. And by then, if it doesn't, then it's probably time to sell.